AI agents are everywhere, automating tasks and making decisions at machine speed. But agents make mistakes. Just one rogue agent can do big damage before you even notice. Rubrik Agent Cloud is the only platform that helps you monitor agents, set guardrails, and rewind mistakes, so you can unleash agents, not risk. Accelerate your AI transformation at Rubrik.com. That's RUBRIK.com.
What if this Halloween, instead of fearing the dark, we befriended it? In a season obsessed with monsters and make-believe, author and illustrator Christy Mandin returns with a story that reminds us that the most haunting things we face are often the ones inside our own imaginations. Her newest picture book, Millfleur Saves the Night, is part fable, part mirror, asking readers, young and old, what it means to replace fear with curiosity. I absolutely love this book, and in today's conversation, Christy and I talk about what it meant for her to illustrate the dark as a living character. Because it's Halloween season also, folks, here on the podcast, we are hosting a book giveaway. If you would like to win a free copy of this book, here's how you enter. Head on over to the Shifting Schools YouTube channel, and if you're already a subscriber, just grab a screenshot or subscribe, take a screenshot of that, send it through to info, that's INFO, at shiftingschools.com to enter to win your copy. Please get that email in by this Wednesday if you would like to be a part of the draw. I'm Tricia Friedman, and this week's conversation on the podcast is all about curiosity, creativity, and the courage to love what we don't yet understand. It's also our way of wishing you a happy Halloween that's coming up. Before we dig into this week's episode, we do have a quick word from our show sponsor. Hey, listeners, you know that when we talk to you about a show partner, we have taken great time and care to make sure that we are talking to you about partnerships that we use and trust ourselves. That's why I'm so excited to remind you of the incredible folks behind Poll Everywhere, the student response system that's trusted by over 1 million educators to transform lectures into interactive learning experiences. Poll Everywhere has just launched a brand new and improved version, and from experience, I can tell you it's a game changer. You can create engaging polls in seconds with their AI-powered tools, which integrate seamlessly with your LMS and make every class and conversation just a little more interactive without the hassle. Whether you're teaching a gigantic lecture hall or you've got a small group, Poll Everywhere makes that engagement faster, simpler, smarter. If you are ready to try it out, you can get $25 off with special code 25OFF. That's 25, capital O, capital F, capital F, at the link in our show notes. That promo code will be there where you can sign up, get ready to try it, and save a little bit from our friends at Poll Everywhere. And with that, please welcome to the show author and illustrator Christy Mandin. Christy, just when I thought I could not appreciate the work that you do as author and illustrator more, you come with a picture book that, wow. I mean, it blew me away. It is beautiful. And I left my reading experience. What does it mean for us to be thinking more about being a friend of the dark?
Yeah.
Can you say a little bit more about, am I close to what you were?
That's exactly what I hoped that you would come away with. You can't, when you sit down to write these things in any genre, you can't control what the reader takes away from it. You do your best work, put it out there, and you just hope for some things. And then you're also kind of surprised by what readers take away. One early review of this book said, maybe the residents of Garden Glen have not considered that the dark is actually afraid of them. And I thought, yes, yes, like the things that we're afraid of. And so if in book 1, the residents of Garden Glen were afraid of anything that's different, calling it poison, then in book 2, they're most certainly afraid of the dark, calling it dangerous. And the 2 books, the through line there is, you just have to be more curious about your world. Yes, that fear of something that you don't understand might be natural, but that's not something that you need to nurture. You need to nurture the curiosity of that thing. Get to know it, because a lot of times you might be the thing that's actually the threat in the environment. You might be the scary thing. And so that teaches people maybe to, if you're curious about your world, that maybe is the start of being empathetic about your world instead of fearing what's different. So yeah, being a friend of the dark, I think, is a good start to being a friend to your neighbor or the thing that you don't understand in your world.
And that powerful messaging, in part, I think, comes through so clearly because you did something so creative, unique, provocative with how you embodied the character of the dark.
I do like to be provocative.
Just hit the nail right on the head. How many iterations did you go through? How did you decide how you were going to illustrate the dark? Because it's a thing of beauty. And I hope your answer is not going to be like, oh, it was the first right out of the gate.
No, my first one right out of the gate actually looked similar to a character that already exists in the world. It looked similar to a Looney Tunes character. And art direction was like, this feels like something that already exists. And then when we all looked at it, we were like, oh yeah, no, we have to, that shape language, we have to change it. So no, there were a few iterations, and that always happens with anything I draw anyways. I don't know that I've ever put anything on the paper that was like, that is it the first time, because I have aphantasia. So I don't have a visual imagery in my mind. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's like a scale of black to technicolor realistic imagery. When I close my eyes, everything is black. I can't envision an apple. I know what an apple looks like because I've seen an apple. I know what an apple feels like. So I have sensory imagery, but not I can remember smells and sounds. I know what a beach looks like because I know a beach, but I can't envision it. So especially when I'm creating a character that doesn't exist at all, like the dark or Millie Fleur's Poison Garden with the teeth and the tentacles, a lot of times the first thing that I put down on paper, when I get it on paper, I realize that's not it. There's something about it that's not it, and I have to keep going until eventually that character shows up on the page and I go, there they are, finally. So sometimes it's a long process of trial and error, and I end up with a lot of spare characters that sometimes I can use later, which is nice.
Yeah, I like that. You must have a great kind of plan B file away. Christy,
Yes.
If this is too personal to ask, please don't feel any pressure to answer, but I'm curious if your journey with aphasia is actually in part what drove you to work on your craft as an illustrator. Is there a connection there? Or again, please feel free to pass.
Good question that I don't know if I've ever reflected on, but probably because when I imagine things, when I envision things, a lot of times it's words or sounds or smells. And so I think drawing maybe fills in that gap of what I can't do in my mind. That's a good question. And I'm going to marinate on that probably after this call and really think about how that has influenced me ending up in this career, which It is a weird thing. Like a lot of times when I tell people I don't have a visual mind's eye, they're like, what do you mean? You're an illustrator. But one of Disney's most famous animators, Glenn King, he created The Little Mermaid and The Beauty and the Beast. And I found out after I was an illustrator that we actually work pretty much in the same way. Like he takes things like when he created Beauty and the Beast, he had a buffalo head on the wall, a taxidermy buffalo, and he took parts of that and parts of other animals and put them all together. So we work a lot in the same way of like things that we know in real life, and then we twist them into the fantastical, which is fascinating to me that I didn't know I didn't know there was a name for that. I just thought everybody did that. When people meditate, I would think, what do they mean? Like, envision a beach. I can't do that. So meditating doesn't work for me, but yeah, it's a good question.
That's really interesting. And another thing that I am wondering if other critics have commented on is how timeless and yet modern the style of your illustrations feel. Like, I feel like there's parts of like Gothic tradition shining through, but your protagonist in so many ways is, of course, so unique. I cannot think of another character to compare her to. And I wonder if you feel like you're intentionally blending traditions, or do you try to keep yourself free from thinking too much of different other stylistic strategies, if you will?
No, I think I'm very heavily influenced by the things that I love, because I think part of me wants for them to live on. Like Charles Addams will never go away. I mean, he is just a force. Like I am a huge Charles Addams fan, but I also I just feel like I want it to live on in like for the new generation. So while I might appreciate Charles Addams' work from The New Yorker, I want a new generation to have that same feeling that I had when I looked at Charles Addams cartoons or Edward Gorey or watching horror movies way too early as a kid. I think all of that gets in, it like sticks like gum on the shoe and you can't really get away from it. I don't know if other artists have this same opinion, but we're all very heavily influenced by the things we love. Yeah, I think a lot of the color palette and the line work, it comes from years of admiration of people that did that kind of work. And then it all just goes into like a melting pot, and then out comes your style. Which is why I think when people talk about like, how do you develop a style? I think it's just being obsessed with the things that you like to look at and going, how did they do that? Like, or really analyzing, what do I love about this? Is it the scritchy, scratchy lines, or is it the way they make that nose? And I think all of that influences what comes out in the end.
I love that. And just what a beautiful tribute to being an artist who loves what other artists have done and are doing.
Yeah. I mean, I have artwork here. That is John Clausen and Mike Burnett, Sam and Dave Dig a Hole. That's Phoebe Wall. And this is Matthew Forsyth. Like, I love artists. So, yeah.
Christy, do you feel like because you are both illustrator and author, are there different processes that you have to go through to nurture your writer self or your illustrator self? Or do you feel like they're inseparable?
The two of them don't get along at all. Author me is like really unrealistic. She creates problems for illustrator me. Every single time I think maybe these two can get together in the beginning, and author me can like write a story that's not extremely difficult to illustrate. In book 1 with Milliefort's Poison Garden, the one that was like the thing that kept tripping me up was curdled milkweed. And it's like, yeah, that sounds great, but how do you draw that? And then the problem is, it's me. Like, there's nobody else that can solve that problem. There are picture books that are, like, for instance, Sam and Dave Dig a Hole. Mike Burnett writes that story, and then he hands it off. He's like, do your thing, John Clausen. And he doesn't have to worry so much about that. I can't hand it off to anybody because I'm the author and the illustrator. So I have to solve the problems that I create for myself. And so a lot of times I get tangled up. None of my art or stories they're all hard won. It is a battle. It's a knockdown drag out between the two of them. So yeah.
I love that because with the conversation around technology and art, there's a lot of people saying, actually, the tension is the point with some artistic work, that you really do want to grapple with the challenge. You want to feel the emotional weight of it. You want the cognitive load of making the different choices. Because you've been doing this for a while, I wonder actually if you have a process or there's self-awareness in terms of, I know I've hit a wall here, I have to go for a walk and then come back to it. So do you have any methodology around that, solving the problem of your own art?
A lot of goofing off. And so like when I go around and talk to kids at author visits at schools, they always want to know, like, how do you write a story? Where do you get your ideas from? And I have to tell them, like, the very important work of goofing off is how you get those ideas. So like for Millie Force Saves the Night, with Millie Force Poison Garden, I wrote that and no one was watching, Tricia. Like I wrote that just that I will probably never have that experience ever again because no one was watching what I was doing. I had satisfied my contracts at my previous publisher. I had nothing on the horizon and I could just do what I wanted. I had the freedom to write the weirdest thing. And if people liked it, they liked it. If not, nobody knew. Maybe it never sold and nobody would know that. And so when the second book, when Scholastic said, hey, we really loved that, do it again, I thought, I don't know how I did it the first time. It was like a fever dream when I woke up on the other side with a story. And so when it got time to write that second book, they wanted another Millie Floor book. There's a lot of pressure because now everybody's watching. And an established series, so like Clifford. I mean, how many Clifford books are there? After you get to like book 30, I mean, Clifford is Clifford. People are going to love it. But book 2 feels like this is the tipping point in a series. You either make or break it. I mean, we see it all the time in movies, novels. Book 2 can really, it's scary. And so when I pitched the story for book 2, my editor and I agreed it wasn't bad, but it definitely was not book 2. It wasn't what we needed for book 2. And I was on a deadline. And so I did what any good writer does. And I made like George R.R. Martin and I went wandering in the yard because I thought, oh my gosh, what if I never have another good idea again? Which I think is, again, like you said, the wrestling is the point. Like there needs to be that tension of like, what if I never have a good idea ever again? We all have that. And so, yes, part of my process is getting away from my desk because I could sit there and stare at the screen for 8 hours and my arch nemesis, the blank page, is going to win. But if I take the pressure off myself and I just go outside or I just do some reading, it removes the expectations from my brain and it tricks me into thinking, this is no big deal. Just write what you love. If you see something that makes your brain light up, that's the thing. And so I did. I went on a panic walk and I came across a new to me bug in the yard. And Tricia, what should I have done? I should have just taken a picture and come back to it later, right? But I tell kids this exact story that instead, when I got back to my desk, because I'm insufferably curious, I looked it up because it wasn't all that exciting of a bug. He was just a gray, but it was a bug I didn't know. I didn't know the name. I needed to know the name of this bug instead of writing my story. I needed to know right now. And I found out that this bug at night creates his own bioluminescent headlights. And I thought, oh my God, that's amazing. And then Millie Force Saves the Night was born. And I wish it was a more linear, repeatable process, but it's not. It's messy. And I think I'm coming to terms with that being okay. that going out and sitting in a Thoreau style cabin and writing for 8 hours is probably not how I'm ever going to make a book. It's scary because there's no guarantee I'll stumble upon anything worth writing about. But when I do, it's like catching lightning in a bottle. So it's thrilling and terrifying, and that's just how I do it.
And I love that. And there actually is a great deal of research. Manoush Zomorodi wrote a whole book about bored to brilliant, that we actually do need that time where we're not actively trying to seek
That's
inspiration, but the inspiration might find us anyway.
That's right.
Other than being a wildly successful author-illustrator, you're also a parent. And I wonder about the piece of modeling that for your children, because parenting has really changed. Like, kids are very, I would argue, overly scheduled.
Yeah.
And I wonder if you might comment on what it means for your children to grow up seeing their parent also value curiosity and open-mindedness in a way that is disorganized, but very deeply human and necessary.
Yeah. I mean, we have this conversation. So we have an 18-year-old, a 15-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 6-year-old. So we have,
You've got the full collection.
Yes, we have all of the developmental stages right now. And we have this conversation regularly that we're not anti-screen time. Our jobs are largely on screens. I mean, I work digitally, so I'm staring at a screen. I'm on the go a lot, so it looks like I'm staring at my phone, but I'm really I'm writing my books from my phone while doing laundry or whatever. Screens are a part of our life. Our 9-year-old is profoundly autistic and nonverbal, so her only voice is her iPad. So we're not anti-screen, but we talk to our kids all the time about if you aren't using it to be curious, then you're just filling all of your time with just fluff. Like, you're filling your face with just, yes, we all like to zone out and go on the Reddit or whatever. But also, there's this window into a world where you can literally access all the information that you need to be curious about your world. Like, you can look up that weird bug in the yard, but also, if you didn't put it down for a minute and go out into the yard, you wouldn't know to look up the weird bug. So there's a balance there, and you do have to have some boredom. And I think that's where the boredom is being stripped away, is that we're not subjected to it. I literally said the other day, me and your dad are the way we are because when we were growing up, we just had the wall to stare at or a tree. So I'm getting very old in that way. I'm an elder millennial, and it is starting to seep out. But it's true. When you don't have anything else to do, when I do my school visits, I tell kids I grew up in the 1900s before the internet, and it was dark times. And I explained to them, we didn't have YouTube Kids. We didn't have Disney Plus. We didn't have all of these streaming services. For a while, we didn't have a computer in the house. Mm-hmm. And they gasp. They're like, what? YouTube Kids, that gets them. They're like, what did you even do with your life? And I tell them, I made up weird stories about rocks with moss hair. I came across a cool rock and now I put googly eyes on it and that's a character. So having that time to be bored, it really is essential. And I'm so proud that our kids have, I also say often if they grow up to be doctors, I'm going to be so disappointed. If they grow up to be physicists, And so our 18-year-old he's into game design. And every Halloween, I'm so proud they come up with these cool costumes, and one's developing a hand right now that's animatronic. And yeah, so you need that time to be bored to find these cool ideas for stories.
I could not agree more. That's beautiful. The creativity that must be under your roof is amazing. I am so glad that you took the risk in creating the sequel. I should say, listeners, I also feel like it works as a standalone. If you haven't read the first book yet, you'll want to after this book, but Thank you so much. And I feel very greedy in saying this, but I'm hoping for a third. I don't know if you're thinking about it or not.
Well, Tricia, there are 5 more Millie Floor books on the way. So the next one publishes July 2026. And then that one is a Halloween proper book. So that one's Millie Floor's Pumpkin Problem. And it will have stickers. And then in the fall of 2026, Millie Floor's Worst Day Ever comes out. And then you'll have 3 more until 2029, I think. Yeah.
I mean,
so
hey, maybe there's going to be a family collaboration and there will be a board game version.
Oh, wouldn't that be fun? Yeah. I did a call the other day. Someone said, we want a tarot deck of Millie Floor's like plants and world. And yeah, everybody has lots of ideas for Millie Floor.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the messaging in this most recent book. It feels so timely. And listeners, if you have not picked up a copy yet, it's just good for the soul. I feel like that's my way of phrasing that. Thank you so much for coming back to the show to talk more about Millie and just the way that you do the remarkable art that you gift to the world. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's always fun here.
Hey folks, thank you for tuning in this week to our conversation. If you are wondering where you might learn a little more from us, if you've been following the show for a while, you may not know that there has been a brand new newsletter released. It's free. It's called AI Forward, and specifically it's for folks in K-12 leadership. If you'd like to check that out and you'd like to give it a follow, the link is also in the show notes. Also, if you've got requests, you've got questions for the podcast or for the newsletter, our email address is there as well. We love, love, love hearing from listeners. See you again next week.
Hey there, dedicated listener. If you've made it this far, we know you're passionate about shifting the way education works. And Tricia and I appreciate you. If you loved what you heard today, we'd be so grateful if you could take a moment to rate and review Shifting Schools wherever you listen to podcasts. Those ratings help us reach even more educators just like you. And if you know someone who could benefit from these conversations, please share this episode with them. Just one person. Think of the impact we can make together. Don't forget to sign up for our newsletter for even more great content. And if you haven't already, join us at Camp Shifting Schools, where the conversations keep going long after the podcasts end. Thank you for being a part of this journey, and thank you for being part of Shifting Schools.
AI agents are everywhere, automating tasks and making decisions at machine speed. But agents make mistakes. Just one rogue agent can do big damage before you even notice. Rubrik Agent Cloud is the only platform that helps you monitor agents, set guardrails, and rewind mistakes, so you can unleash agents, not risk. Accelerate your AI transformation at Rubrik.com. That's RUBRIK.com.